It again, Jeremy.
Hey guys, welcome back. It's us.
Us.
Get Out. We're going to go see Us. The new Jordan Peele movie. I don't know why everybody's saying it's his fucking second movie. Keanu is his first movie with the fucking cat. And then Get Out is his second one. So this is the third movie by Jordan Peele.
The trilogy.
I'm really excited just because I want to see if he's consistently a good filmmaker. I'm hearing that this is good, but not as good as Get Out, but really what can be, you know?
It's true.
It's a very tough act to follow.
Right.
And I think that just because somebody makes a good movie, it doesn't have to mean that every movie that they make is going to top the last one. That's a very high standard to set for one person, especially somebody who is relatively new to making movies.
Really, the goal should just be have consistently good movies. You don't need to be better. That's what we were saying with Captain Marvel, too. You don't need to be better than the last one. Just something good.
If everything was better than the last movie, then we would only have good movies, and woof, that's not true.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take original. Even if it's not as good, I'll still take original over anything else.
And I think the most exciting thing is I don't know what the fuck this movie's about. Because you can watch the trailer and you still have no idea.
I read a non-spoiler review
Yeah, she's no
of
stuff.
the movie, so I won't say anything. Other than I'm very interested to see what the movie ends up being about. Because from what I'm reading, it's not exactly what the trailers are showing.
Right.
So, very curious to see what happens. I also want to put on the record, I do not like scary movies. I do not like jump scares. Horror films are not my thing. I'm not the type of person that's like, oh, they made Annabelle, let me go see it. Like, I'm not, it's just not for me.
Let's be real. Nobody really went to go see Annabelle.
I'm hoping that, just like Get Out, that there is some horror, I guess you could say. There is some scariness to it, but that it's more plot-driven and it's more, you know, interesting and thrilling than it is horrifying and scary.
Right.
That's what I'm hoping for.
I want to put down that I'm the same way. I don't like horror movies at all. The only reason I really agreed to see this movie is because I saw Get Out and I liked it so much, and so I want to see more of what Jordan Peele does. Because, you know, I didn't think Get Out wasn't scary at all.
I like Jordan Peele because I think that he just makes very good science fiction in his horror. You know, at least with Get Out, and it's looking like he's going to do it again, and I think that that's something that's kind of lacking in movies right now, unless
Good
it's,
sci-fi?
you know, right, or good original sci-fi. You know, and then the other thing to remember is that there's a big difference between being a horror movie and being a scary movie. Sometimes they can overlap.
Right.
But I think that the horror genre is more than just slashers and scary movies are like Chucky.
Get Out was a complete concept. It was a complete movie. There wasn't anything that you were like, oh, that couldn't have happened, you know, like, oh, that didn't make sense, blah, blah, blah. It all made sense. It all flowed really well and everything, you know, when it was over, you were like satisfied because there was a conclusion.
It wasn't open-ended.
Right. I'm getting a lot that it's very open-ended, this movie.
Yeah, I saw, just going through like my YouTube videos and stuff like that, I saw a couple videos of, ending of Us explained. I obviously didn't click on it because I hadn't seen the movie, but yeah, I kind of figured that there is some sort of interpretation to the ending of this movie.
And that's not always bad, but what I always say about like an open-ended ending is that the most important thing is that the guy who created it knows how the movie really ends. It's okay to leave the audience guessing, but you have to know and have laid enough groundwork so that the ending you have in your head can be arrived at. You know, so if this movie does that, I'm fine with it.
And then we can get an Us too.
Us.
C-O-O.
Us too.
Us too.
Us too.
Yeah. Hey.
We just got out of Us.
The prequel to Us 2.
Yes. Which is
2021
of Thrust.
Maybe. Yeah.
And then
We have For Us, and then we have Us with a V.
Right,
The
versus.
front, the V being the Roman numeral 5.
It's the next Star Wars as we were talking about.
Yes, because there will be a lot of movies. Just
I
like
would say
Star
more
Wars.
Fast and Furious, if anything.
Whatever direction you want. I'd try to leave us open to...
This is not a perfect movie. And even though it's not fair to compare it to Get Out, like we said at the beginning.
I feel like it's so different.
Right.
Like, yeah, you can't compare it.
It's not the same as Get Out, and I guess it comes down to what you prefer. I prefer Get Out, but I do like this movie a lot. I think it's a fun movie with a lot of issues. Overall, I liked it.
It's definitely no Get Out for me. It was a little too scary for me for the most part. In retrospect, you think about it, you're like, it's not that scary. But it definitely was playing into jump scares for a good portion. I'm okay, thank you. For a good portion of the movie. And I'm not a fan of that. I would have preferred if it was more thriller rather than scary or horror. But otherwise, story was interesting, I suppose, but very confusing. So it was only an okay for me.
This is a similar repeat to the before, but I am in a similar boat to Brittany. I am not a big fan of horror movies. There's a lot of like really tense sequences where it's supposed to be scaring you, and it's like I'm not having a good time watching this. But it's really hard to fault the movie for that, just because I don't like that type of thing.
Right.
But there's a good chunk of this movie where I'm not having a good time. I liked it. I liked it.
What I previously said, that I assumed it was going to be a lot more of like action, thriller type stuff, which is basically what we got. I did like it, but as we said, also it's a lot of kind of, you're just trying to figure out what's going on. I was kind of just waiting for everything to be revealed for the most part. Like, I kind of figured, I was like, all right, they're trying to kill them. Now what?
We get the explanation when they first show up, which is like not a full explanation. I recognize.
Half explanation, yeah.
But we get that, and that's enough for me to be like, okay, I get enough of what's going on that I can watch the movie now.
Right.
Yeah, I agreed with that.
I didn't have the same problem as you guys.
I agree with what you're
saying. Figure out what's happening instead of enjoying the movie.
Bless you.
I get what you're saying, but at the same time, like I kept like I was just very interested in like the backstory of them, like where'd they come from, why, what's going on, and I thought some parts were a little predictable. It did fall into some of the classic kind of horror tropes also, which I was hoping not to get because, Peele likes to do things very differently.
Right.
I was a little upset that we got a lot of the cliche stuff. Well, not a lot, but we got some...
a couple.
We got some cliche stuff in there.
And I'll say this is a movie that relies... I'll get this out of the way first. This movie relies way too heavily on gore because they do have a really good story, and I guess, I know there's a big section of the audience that wants to see that, and that's fine if that's what you enjoy. I don't think that I really need it in a movie that has a strong base. You don't need to be seeing people getting cut open. The implication is better than anything else. As far as not knowing what's happening in the movie, I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing because it does keep you guessing and it does keep you engaged as to what the fuck is going on. And I feel like a lot of movies don't have the balls to do that. This being said, I think that, not that they're comparable, but Get Out did it better. Now, you didn't know what the fuck was going on the whole movie, but you knew enough to string you along, and I really feel like that one conversation was not enough.
Yeah,
right. That's the thing.
We started losing.
We get the one thing, and then at the very end, we get the rest.
And that's another thing. Like, there was enough other parts of the movie going on in Get Out that were interesting, that held you through to the final reveal. Whereas in Us, it was more like, this shit is just happening, and if you don't know what's happening, just watch it. The entire plot was based off of the end reveal, and we don't know the plot for, 7/8 of the movie, I would say.
And I think it comes down to, like, really how you watch a movie and what you prefer. Some people can sit and be engaged not knowing what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, if it's entertaining, then yeah.
With the promise of, like, okay, well, I'm going to get something. And I think I fall into that camp only because we did get something, But there's always also the worry that I'm not going to find out anything, and then I've wasted my time. And so that bothers me as well. I think it's just which camp you fall into and how much it affects your enjoyment of the movie. For me, that worked once we got there. And I think that I was satisfied enough with the ending to forgive it. But I can also totally understand why you would sit there and go, what the fuck?
I'm definitely more in the camp that I was engaged the whole way through.
See,
No.
I wasn't either.
It like kind of started losing me towards the end, like midway through like Act 2 into Act 3. Like I was kind of just like get on with it already.
This movie eventually becomes a Dawn of the Dead or like a zombie flick. But the monsters aren't zombies. They're these things from, well, I can't say that, but they're the clones. And that's the part of the movie that's really cool and that works, but it takes you so long to get there.
Just because I thought about it and what I said was confusing, because the two things I said were there were a lot of sequences that I did not enjoy myself, and then I ended by saying I liked the movie. I mean, there were sequences that I didn't enjoy in the moment, but in a retrospect sense, I look back and I'm like, yeah, that was, I like that. It's more of of that than like consistent, like I'm enjoying myself throughout this movie, because I very much was not.
Well, it's more enjoyable to think about the movie than it is to watch the movie for the first time.
Well, but the parts
Which is unfortunate.
The parts that I am saying were not enjoyable for me were the parts that were horror parts, which is just not, because that's not my thing.
What happens if you travel out of the country?
I do want to talk about how everybody's bagging on the ending for being
Needs to be
open-ended.
explained.
It's
Yeah,
not
I
open-ended.
don't.
It is about as specific as you can make it.
Without sitting down and literally telling you the words of what happened.
Just because it's not like a standard storybook ending or necessarily a happy ending, and just because it cuts you off when more events could happen, that doesn't make it not an explained ending.
Yeah.
I think people need to stop expecting that things had to be tied up the way it goes in your head, because that doesn't make it a perfect ending just because it's what you thought of.
You want to watch a movie with an open end and get pissed off about it? Watch Annihilation. That movie fucking blew.
Which is a movie that people seem to be very fucking cool with, and I'll say
We're
right
cool
now,
with an open-ended ending if it means
that doesn't make any fucking
that
sense.
it doesn't make sense, and I can
no.
interpret it however the fuck I
Hold on.
want to.
I will say the people that are saying that this movie has an open-ended ending, and the people that like Annihilation's ending are two different crowds. There's absolutely no way that they're the same people.
But it's funny though, because even though they seemingly have nothing in common, the
The end
movies are
is
actually
pretty
very
fucking
similar.
similar.
They really are very similar. Yeah, and
wow.
especially if you really think about it. I'm
about
sorry,
how
I know
they
you haven't
both
seen
haven't
end
it,
seen
with
it,
fucking
so.
dancing.
but it's about that mirrored
Right.
self and, who's the true person. These are all spoilers. But that's the thing. That movie had an open-ended ending because it didn't wrap things up.
Right.
You didn't know what was happening at the end.
Well-
you were just left there to kind of like interpret what happened. This movie, Us, wraps up your ending. There is no question. It tells you what happens. She literally tells you what happens.
Yeah, they do spell it out
Yeah.
for you. That's the
And then
thing.
they show you flashbacks just to confirm in case you didn't already know it.
Right. There's the only thing open about it is that there can potentially be more story.
You can say that about almost any movie.
I'll go as
My
far
heart
as
will
to
go
say I really fucking like the ending more than most of the shit in this movie. I may be in the fucking minority about that, but I think that it works, and I think that it works on multiple levels, and it puts it ends the story in a way I didn't think he was going to keep all the balls in the air to end the story.
Yeah.
So, ratings. I like this movie, actually. It wasn't everything that I was hoping for it to be, no, and I think, again, it's a little too gory. That being said, once we got to the point, I actually did really enjoy it. There's a lot of levels to it, which I appreciate, but just not up to the filmmaker's full potential, I think. So I'm going to give it a B-. I had fun with it.
I agree. I liked it. Will I watch it again? Maybe like one more time just to kind of see all the Easter eggs and all the kind of hidden things that I caught a bit of. I too give it a B-. I think it was a decent movie. It had some good aspects, but it's not really something I'm running to watch again.
I was engaged the whole way through. I would not watch it again due to just a lot of things just not being the type of thing that I normally enjoy. But, I did like it. I'm also going to give it a B-.
This for sure is not my kind of movie. I wanted to know what happened but I could have read the synopsis and been pretty much just as satisfied. I appreciate Lupita Nyong'o because I think that she did a great job, and Winston Duke was really good in it as well. I'm gonna give it a C-. I can appreciate the style choices and I can appreciate the acting, but the movie just wasn't for me. Since there's speculation, I'll stick with my D-.
Oh shit! It's a C-.
Whoa!
You talked me down to an F.
You know what? It's an F-, guys. I'm sorry.